Since then, antibiotics are one of the most common drugs used by humans and in agriculture. Without doubt, they continue to save millions of lives around the world. But there is a crushing downside called antibiotic resistance. This is an evolutionary process whereby the chemical structures of bacteria adapt and defend against contact with antibiotics. This natural process cannot be stopped, but human intervention has massively speeded it up, and more people are getting ill for longer and even dying because their bacterial infection is resistant to existing antibiotics. It's estimated that at least 25,000 people a year are dying in Europe because of antibiotic-resistant infections. 10 million deaths a year are predicted by 2050. Several human interventions have increased the speed that bacteria have become resistant to available antibiotics. Firstly, an alarming number of people have been given antibiotics by their doctor, or in some countries they can be bought from a local shop even though they didn't have a bacterial infection. One of the most common reasons people are prescribed and take antibiotics is to treat the common cold. Colds are viral and not bacterial illnesses, and antibiotics will not have any effect. Secondly, in hospitals, poor hygiene has encouraged the spread of resistant bacteria. And thirdly, the use of antibiotics as growth promoters in agriculture have reduced the lifespan of existing antibiotics. Alongside all this, the pharmaceutical industry has not produced new antibiotic drugs for several decades. Consequently, doctors are left trying to treat more patients with infections resistant to available treatment. How can this be reduced? Global use of existing antibiotics has to be drastically reduced. Scientists and students at the University of Manchester are here to help. We run campaigns to educate people about antibiotic resistance. First, you can learn about basic hand hygiene to stop harmful bacteria spreading. Second, remember antibiotics cannot stop a cough or cold. And third, realise that antibiotic resistance is something each and every one of us can do something about. My name is Angela Spencer and I'm a lecturer on the Masters in Public Health at the University of Manchester.
Molecular pathology is the study of molecules in disease. Molecules might be things like DNA and proteins. At the Manchester Molecular Pathology Innovation Centre, we are working to discover new biomarkers and turn these into clinically usable tests that will improve and speed up the process of diagnosing, predicting and identifying the best treatment for diseases in question. A biomarker is a biological molecule found in blood, other bodily fluids or tissues that is a sign of a normal or abnormal process or of a condition or disease. A biomarker can be used to see how well the body responds to a treatment for a disease or condition. In this way, a biomarker acts like a highlighter. You have probably given a biological sample for testing when visiting the doctor at some point in your life. For example, you may have provided a urine sample for testing glucose levels, so your doctor or nurse can tell if you might be suffering from diabetes. Glucose is a very common biomarker for diabetes. Through measuring this biomarker, doctors can put patients into groups who might have diabetes and those who do not have diabetes, those who have more highlights versus those who have less. Just as one size of clothing doesn't fit every person, not all treatments are beneficial to every patient. Precision medicine is an approach to treating patients through categorising them into groups based on their risks of having a particular disease, or how likely they are to respond to a particular drug or therapy. By looking at what highlights are present, doctors are able to better determine which treatment is needed. It is important that the correct tests are available that can identify which individuals fit into which groups, depending on their exact disease type and likely response to particular treatments. It's like developing a new ultra-specific highlighter which can be used to highlight a specific disease marker. At the Manchester Molecular Pathology Innovation Centre, we are looking to discover new biomarkers so that we can create new clinical tests. We hope that we can find simple and effective tests for diseases which will give doctors powerful new tools for better diagnosing patients. We are the Manchester Molecular Pathology Innovation Centre at the University of Manchester.
Biological timing is a central feature of all living things. Humans, plants, animals, insects, even single-celled life forms are all driven by this natural internal process. It helps us and all life forms to keep track of time passing, and by doing this we can keep ourselves alive by doing things like eating and sleeping at the right times. It also allows us to change ourselves in response to changes in the world around us. This ability helps us to stay alive longer and to be as healthy as possible. This ability to track time comes from within us, from our body's biological clock or body clock, which helps us to work out what is happening around us. For example, our body clock can be affected by light or darkness. These can make our body think it's time to sleep or to wake up. Your body clock also lets your body know when to do things like eat, warm up or cool down, get more liquids inside or lose some liquids. Your body clock works by lots of timers like alarm clocks inside us. These go off at different times and control many internal processes inside our bodies. These processes keep our bodies going and tell them what to do, from the basic things that keep us alive to how we develop and repair ourselves, to our behaviour. We are just starting to understand how important this ability to keep track of time and use this to adapt to changes in our surroundings is. It affects whether we get ill, and if we do get ill, how bad it is, and how quickly we can get well, or whether we die. Our research is helping us to understand how our bodies use their clocks and timers to respond well to all the many different bits of information we get given all the time. We have learned that things going wrong with our clocks can lead to many illnesses, including heart problems, brain problems, mental health problems, cancer, and many more. The University of Manchester is home to the largest biological timing research community in Europe. We bring together extremely skilled researchers across many different areas of science to help learn more about how our internal clocks work, and by doing this help work out how to prevent and treat problems with our bodies. To find out more about biological timing at Manchester, please visit the website. My name is Sarah Barton and I work for the Strategic Funding Team in FBMH.
We know that there are a lot of things that can affect how we grow and develop inside the womb. For instance, a diet rich in fruit and vegetables can be good for the baby, whilst lifestyle choices such as smoking or drinking alcohol may have a negative effect. But there is one important organ that is often overlooked in all this: the placenta. Now, placentas are pretty cool. The placenta is formed from some of the embryo's own cells after it attaches to the wall of mum's womb. Once the placenta is formed and is sitting snugly in the womb, it has several important jobs to do. It must act as a barrier to mum's immune system and at the same time transport enough oxygen and nutrients across to baby and get rid of any waste products. Problems with the placenta during pregnancy can lead to the baby not growing as well as it should, meaning that it's too small at birth. In the UK, around 5% of babies are born small. Not only can this have an impact on the baby's life soon after birth, it can also influence health later in adulthood. The end of pregnancy is usually the end of the story for the placenta, but at St Mary's Hospital in Manchester, this is where my research begins. Despite the fact that a healthy placenta is crucial for a healthy baby, we still don't completely understand how it works. For example, we don't fully understand how the placenta gets nutrients from mum to baby, and so my research is trying to figure this out. I want to understand more about how the placenta transport nutrients in normal pregnancies and find out what might be going wrong in pregnancies where the baby is born very small. To do this, I asked pregnant women with both normal and very small babies to donate their placentas to research. After these women have given birth, I collect their placentas and bring them to the lab. Here I tie lots of little pieces of the placenta onto string and suspend these tiny bits in a solution that contains different amino acids, the building blocks that make up proteins. Each individual amino acid in the vial has a tiny radiolabel marker attached to it. This allows me to measure exactly how much each little bit of placenta transports over time. The data I gather from these experiments tells me more about how different placentas work inside the womb and gives an important insight into what was happening or perhaps going wrong in the pregnancies I see. There are currently no therapies available for women with small babies except premature delivery of their child. My research is crucial to enabling the development of novel treatment options for these women, treatments that we hope will help more women have healthier pregnancies. My name is Kirsty McIntyre. I am a PhD student at the University of Manchester.
Well, there's nothing like the hush that goes through the lecture theatre to get us going, isn't it, Shazia?
Yeah,
right, so
absolutely.
welcome to the University of Manchester. This is the Biosciences talk. So if any of you feel that you are here under false pretences and you don't want to hear Biosciences, we promise if you stand up now and leave, we won't say anything. Okay, so if you want to change your mind, hopefully the videos, even if you're not interested in bioscience, will make you think, yeah, I'd quite like to come and study this. So there's going to be two of us delivering this talk. We are both academic admissions officers for the School of Biological Sciences. We're both senior lecturers here at the university. I'm a microbiologist. My name is Dr. Ruth Grady, and this is Dr. Shazia Chowdhury.
Yeah, I'm a cell biologist.
Molecular cell biology. And so I'm going to start off the talk, and then Shazia is going to join us in the second half and is going to talk about the degree programmes and give a bit more detail about those. So
Brilliant.
I'll let you
Have
sit
a
down.
sit.
You can have a sit. We've only got one chair between the two of us. Not sure why that is. Now, we're happy to take questions. We'll probably take questions at the end because there are some people who are in a spillover lecture theatre. So we suggest that after this talk, if you haven't been there already, if you'll make your way to the Michael Smith building, which ambassadors will show you where that is, we have all our stands there and we have ambassador students who are doing those degree programmes and admissions staff as well. So they'll be best placed to answer your questions for you. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about then is the biosciences in general. So why would you want to study biosciences? Why is it such a great subject? And then we're going to talk about entry requirements and how you apply and how we choose and select our students. And I'll finish off then talking about careers and what you might do with a biological sciences degree as well. So this is our definition here in Manchester: any study that contributes to the understanding of life processes. And I recognise it's very difficult for applicants, thinking about where they want to go, because different universities call it different things. We call it biological sciences. Other places call it life sciences. Other places may be biomolecular or biomedical. And it can be quite overwhelming as to which one you actually want to do. Now, in Manchester, we actually have 16 versions of biological sciences. And any one of these could be your choice, just one choice on your UCAS form that you fill in. Because as Shazia will fill in a bit more detail later on, we actually have a core common course in the first year. So whether you come onto pharmacology or you come to do neuroscience, generally speaking, in the first year, you're going to do the same thing. Not exactly the same, of course, there are options, but generally the same thing. So you can then switch at the end of the first year. So if you want a more nuanced approach as to why these degrees differ, why medical biochemistry as opposed to biochemistry, we do recommend you look at our admissions website, and then on the drop-down menus, you can see which units are optional and which ones are compulsory. And that's the main difference. There's a couple of other bits of differences as well that Shazia will cover too. So all of these count as your one choice, and we'll look at your application, and when we give an offer, it will be for the one you've put on one of them that you've put on the form. And if you want to switch between a different one before results day, you can do that. So why do you want to study biology? I mean, it's a very interesting subject in its own right. I mean, even if you're not a biologist, we all love David Attenborough, don't we? Everybody watches those programmes and think, yeah, biology is really, really interesting. So it's interesting in its own right, and it can also help us answer global, unanswered questions and problems, to help the world. So these can be things like, you may be drawn into biology because you want to find something new. What is on the bottom of the ocean? They send these, submarines all the way down to have a look at the bottom of the trenches, and they're finding still, even now in 2022, organisms that we've never known existed before. So it's really, what is on the bottom of the ocean? And we may be drawn into thinking about the world and thinking, well, hang on a minute, the planet's getting quite full. How can we make sure that everybody has enough food to eat in the future? What is global climate change going to do to the world? So you might be interested in solving those kind of issues. You might be drawn into it from more of a human perspective. We're humans, we grow in a particular way, our egg divides, and lo and behold, at the end of it, we've got 2 arms and 2 legs in general. Sometimes it goes wrong. We want to understand about human development. We know in some animals they can regrow limbs. Salamanders can do that. We can't. So we want to study animals as well to find out about how we develop as humans, and can we utilize that information to help us live long and healthy lives. You know, we're interested when those processes go wrong, say for instance in neurodegenerative diseases. That might be your hook to come to study biology. We're very interested in all sorts of diseases, whether they're infectious diseases or the diseases of the body like inflammation, or it could be about cancer. You know, we know cancer is, you know, are we ever going to find a cure for cancer? So that might be your hook to come and study biology. And we're always interested in finding new treatments and new diagnostics so we can make people have good, healthy lives. And one of the very important things we feel at Manchester is we need to prepare our students and our graduates for the future. So for these problems that we don't know exist at the moment. So we need to give you the tools and the skills required so that you can take your place in the world and help make the world, you know, a better place for everyone. And we know that these kind of questions, to have answers, is going to need a multidisciplinary approach. So it's not just biologists. We want you to be a good scientist as well. And you will work with people from, you know, economics. Some of these are economic solutions. Some of them are political. Some of them are engineering solutions. So we want to make sure that you are able to work with other people in a team, because that is what is important for the future. And lots of these questions, these big questions, are being answered here or being addressed here in Manchester. So if we think about research, we're a research-intensive university, and that's as evidenced by our excellent performance in the recent Research Excellence Assessment. And you can see the results of that on our website if you would like to look at it. And we're very proud of our reputation here for research. So if you look at our research website, be prepared, you might go down a rabbit hole. There's a lot to look at because we have a lot of staff here. And we know that we're involved in all sorts of research disciplines. In fact, the university has pinpointed and selected several important research areas that we call our research beacons. And some of these are centred in the biosciences. For instance, cancer. I mean, this is a big one, isn't it? We have a partnership here between our faculty, so the Faculty of Biology, Medicine and Health, with the biggest cancer research charity, Cancer Research UK, and also the Christie Hospital, which is an NHS Trust hospital dealing with people with cancer. So we have expertise from dealing with the patients to thinking about, you know, raising money to help people's lives better, and then thinking about the molecular science as well. So if we want to find a cure for cancer, we want our undergraduate students to study things involved with that kind of subject. So in your undergraduate course, you will learn about, you know, the normal cell cycle and how it breaks down. And when those signals go wrong between cells signalling to each other. And we know that cancer cells break off and they move around the body. Can we image that? Can we use computer modelling to simulate that so we can understand what's going on? So all aspects of cancer, from the computational to the cell biology, you know, to dealing with patients with cancer, that's the kind of thing you can expect to see in our degree programmes here. We're also very interested in the idea of biotechnology. You know, we're at the forefront of a bio-industrial revolution. We know we can't rely on fossil fuels in the future. So we have research groups here who are thinking about food security. So, for instance, looking at plants. Can we grow plants that grow taller and bigger, with bigger leaves, to help secure food for the future? You know, can we use biotechnology to manipulate these for something that's useful? Or other organisms, so algae. You know, can we use algae to produce fats and lipids that could be used as an energy source? So all that kind of industry experience and the biosciences work very well in partnership with each other to try and help explain or have some solutions for these big problems. We also have our Manchester Environmental Research Institute here, and these are looking again at environmental challenges. So we have researchers in our school that are very interested in fish, and particularly where they migrate to in the oceans and where they reproduce. Because if we have global climate change, if the ocean temperatures go up, are those fish going to be able to spawn with as much success as they do at the moment? So we have a research team, even though we're nowhere near the oceans here, who are interested in that kind of molecular biology about reproductive success in migratory fish. You know, so all ways we can be involved here. We've got 4 big research groups here. They're all doing research about making us healthier. Now, you might not know what body clocks are, but we have the largest research community in Europe that are studying body clocks. You may know the phrase circadian rhythms. And we know that organisms, all organisms, track the passage of time and so they can adjust their biology accordingly. So, for instance, when certain hormones are released or when we start to metabolize our food, etc. Why does blood pressure differ at different times of the day? So we know that body clock and timing is very, very important and central to all organisms. And we want to understand that from a genetic level, what are the genes involved, to what are the outcomes when it goes wrong. Because we know from patient studies and we know from animal studies that if the body clocks are not working properly, this can lead to disease, whether it's inflammation or whether it's cancer, asthma, cardiovascular diseases. So we want to understand what's going on in body clocks. We have lots of people interested in development. So we have the Northwest Embryonic Stem Cell Centre here, looking at stem cell research. Can we harness these cells before they are fixed in a particular developmental pathway so we can use them maybe to regenerate organs or regenerate tissues? We've got the cell matrix research and the regenerative medicine network. So think of an organ in the body, there'll be somebody researching it here in Manchester. So whether it's kidney, pancreas, eyes, liver, we will be researching into it. And because we have all these researchers, it means we have lots of people who can teach and who can lend their expertise to helping our undergraduates learn all these subjects. So to take a slightly different route, this may be what interests you in biology, we have our Centre for Historical Study of Science, Technology and Medicine. And this is integrated with medical humanities and science communication. So this is people thinking about science and biology as a society. So how have we ended up where we are now? Why do we do science and practice science in the way we do it? Why is it funded that way? Just because we can, should we do it? What are the ethics of research? And so we want people who have a background in science and understand the biology, but are also willing to think about science in society as a whole. Who are the policymakers for the future? The lawmakers? And so this centre is really interested in thinking about science policy and as a society. And we can go from a historical perspective up to what could happen in the future. Of course, all our disease output, we could go on for hours. I'm not going to. I'm going to pass over to Shazia. The problem is when you get an academic with a PowerPoint in front of them and a microphone, we can tend to go on, can't we, Shazia? Yeah, so I'll shut up and get on with it. So, but thinking about all diseases, we have the Manchester Brain Bank here. So these collect and supply human brain tissues that can be used locally then for research here in Manchester, and they can also be used nationally and internationally as well. We're very interested in Alzheimer's, for instance, and not just looking at the molecular biology of what's going on in the molecules in the brain that's causing these tangles and proteins to accumulate, but what's happening with people living with dementia, and can we make sure they have dignified lives as well. So we're looking at the whole range in our Alzheimer's research places. We're very interested in thinking about inflammation, vaccines, all diseases. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about viruses. We've had enough of them. But, whether it's viruses, bacteria, or parasites, all that kind of research happens here in Manchester. And we have lots of different research groups. We have a Lydia Beckett Institute of Immunology and Inflammation. Very worth looking at their website and see what research is going on here in Manchester. So I hope I managed to convince you that biology is a worthwhile subject. It's a huge range of subjects, and there's something there that's going to be interesting that you want to pursue. So I'm now going to pass you over to Shazia, and she's going to tell you how we organise our courses and how we select our students.
Thank you, Ruth. Okay, so let's talk about practicalities in terms of how our courses work. As Ruth said, we are a large research-intensive university, and our size means we can offer choice and flexibility. We have the capability of teaching many diverse courses, as we've got over 300 academic staff like us. And they deliver content that they're passionate about and invested in. Now, we take approximately 700 undergraduate students per year, and currently we've got no caps on these degree programs. Although if you all wanted to do zoology in one year, that'd be a bit of a problem. The lecturers that teach the disciplines are experts in that field, and they're world-leading published researchers and teaching specialists in the biosciences. And this is good because I'm a cell biologist and I get to teach things that interest me, such as how cells make organs and things like cell membranes. Rather than say on bacteria that cause awful diseases, and for that we have Ruth and her fellow microbiologists, for which we are most grateful. Now, in terms of the course itself, the degree programs all have a common first year so that everyone gets a solid grounding in all bioscience areas. Now, we think that's quite important to give you that broad training to develop modern biologists. You know, we want you to be flexible, open-minded, and that you can work in multidisciplinary teams. So it might be that some of you, you've got your heart is set on neuroscience, and you want to badge yourself as a neuroscientist, but you need to know about molecular biology and pharmacology too. Now, as mentioned here, it's possible to switch degree disciplines between the 16 programs at the end of year 1 or 2. And that's in case you change your mind or you develop an interest that wasn't there previously. So interestingly, over a quarter, so a good 25% of our students last year changed degree program after year 1. So they went either from a broad degree program to a more specialized one or the other way around. Now, our content becomes more specialized in year 2 and 3, so you really get a chance to get to the cutting edge of the subject by the time that you graduate. Okay, we say you can change programs, but as with most things in life, there's some terms and conditions. So, for example, if you start on cognitive neuroscience, as shown here, then you can't change on or off it as it's jointly run with the Department of Psychology. And that's because you're going to be taking units that aren't available to our other programs. Also shown here, if you want to switch to biochemistry or medical biochemistry or molecular biology, then you need to have done some chemistry in year 1. Now, these units are compulsory if you start on these programs, but they're options for other programs. But we really recommend you talk to the students in the Smith building. We've got lots of stands there. Or look at our website to see the detailed variations between the degree programs. So you can look at what units are compulsory and which are optional. Now, our University of Manchester Bioscience course can be studied in a variety of pathways. Hopefully you all know about the 3-year degree, and hopefully you've started learning about the 4-year programs as well. So to give you some snippets, you could do with modern language. So these degree courses include a year spent conducting research in a country where the language you're going to study is spoken. It could be a research institute or university. We offer French, German, Italian, Spanish, Japanese or Mandarin. You're going to need an A-level in the language for the European languages, but language capability for Mandarin or Japanese. It comes with a placement year, and that takes place between the 2nd year and final year, so you get to improve your language skills as well before completing the course. Now, you could also choose to do with entrepreneurship as another option. So here, you could improve your employability by taking this program. You would be combining learning key biology units as well as studying additional units in entrepreneurship. So we teach things like management skills, finance, and business innovation. 2/3 of the course will be biological sciences and 1/3 entrepreneurship. And they're delivered by academics from the business school. This degree also includes a placement year in industry. We've also got, as mentioned here, with industrial professional experience. So you could choose to spend the 3rd year degree on placement, so as another option. And that's with one of our partner organisations in the UK or overseas. And we've got over 100 100 partner organisations. Now, we'll find the placement for you, and we make sure that all the placements provide some degree of research. These placements provide really valuable work experience, and it might help you to clarify your work or your career objectives. could give you an advantage as well in today's very competitive market, and employers do like to see work experience. Here you can see a map of all of our placements, and as you can see, they're dotted around the world. We've got lots, there's a nice cluster here around the UK and Europe, so lots are local to Manchester as well. Some are paid opportunities and some are just for the experience. You would apply for them and hopefully you'd get the position. Now, some of them pay. So there's a really lovely one. It's by the beach. It's in Jacksonville, Florida, at the Mayo Clinic. And they pay $26,000, which is very nice. And some UK pharmaceutical companies pay $16,000 to $20,000. Okay, so you could also do the integrated masters. So this is where your placement year takes place after the third year, and it's not now in industry, it's in one of the research labs in Manchester. So you will conduct a full year of research, and because of that, we can give you a master's level degree. We really recommend this to any students who might want to do a PhD after. So to remember, you can switch between the 3-year BSc, the IE and the MSci at the end of year 1 and 2, but you can't switch between the entrepreneurship and the with modern language, so you need to really pick them at the start. Continuation on all of our 4-year programs is subject to academic performance whilst you're here, but the entry requirements are the same for the standard degree. And we, as another option, we also have lots of popular field courses, and these are compulsory for degree programs such as zoology. So you could spend 10 days in Costa Rica looking at frogs and butterflies in the rainforest. We have a really exciting one looking at urban diversity in the canals and streams around Manchester. We have plants and orchids in Mallorca, and we have animal behaviour in South Africa. We've also got a new field course starting in Malaysia too. There's a cost implication for most of them, but some are free and all are subsidised. As mentioned, these are compulsory for zoology, but they're optional for life sciences and biology. So that might be a reason why you might want to choose those programs. Right, I'm going to pass you back to Ruth, who's going to talk about the application process.
Okay, thank you, Shazet. So the application process, for most people, the deadline for applying will be next January. If you're applying for medicine, dentistry, veterinary, Oxford or Cambridge, you have an earlier deadline of October. But generally, most people will be applying by the January deadline. And by the January deadline, we would expect, if numbers are similar to this year, to have over 7,000 applications. So our office does receive a lot. And the way we select is we are very interested in, we look at your GCSEs just to make sure you've got a decent collection there. We have very low stipulations as to what you actually have to have for your GCSEs. So all these details are on our website if you want to look at them. What we're mainly interested in is your predicted A-level grades, or equivalents if you're doing baccalaureates or diplomas. Again, so the optional ones, you can have a look on our website for. So we're looking at your past academic performance and your potential as well. And our offer is going to match your predicted grades, which I'll come on to in a moment. We obviously are very interested in your personal statement and your reference as well. We often get asked, are you looking for anything in particular on the personal statements? And the answer is no. We're not looking for anything in particular. We just want to see, do you look like you're enthusiastic to do the course? Have you done anything extra on the course? But we don't have a checklist. It's not like, oh, look, you've read The Selfish Gene, right, tick. We're just looking to see, have you made an effort in your personal statement? And you haven't just went, I want to do microbiology because, my mum told me to. You look like you've made an effort. That's what we're interested in, enthusiasm and motivation. And if you have read an interesting book that's really captured your imagination, you might want to mention that as well. If you've represented your school at the Biology Olympiad or something, put that in too. That's showing application there. Work experience is great. That work experience could be something biology related because, you've been lucky enough to get some work shadowing in a laboratory, or it may be that you've got a part-time job, working in Costa Coffee or in a shop somewhere, showing that, you have got a work ethic, which is great, and you have those skills, but it's not an absolute requirement. We recognise that not everybody can get work experience because of family circumstances or just opportunity. So it's nice if you've got it, put it on if you've got it, but you know, we're not going to count it against you if you don't. Similarly, things like EPQs, really interesting to see. Tell us about your EPQ, you know, and what you've done in that. Unlike other universities, we don't base our formal offer on your EPQ. It may come into play on results day, which I'll talk about in a moment. But, you know, tell us, if you've done something that's interested you in your EPQ, tell us about it. We recognise as well that you may tailor your personal statement to medicine or dentistry or something like that, because you have to if you're applying for those subjects. We can extract the information we need as your suitability for a bioscience course from that statement. If we can't, then we will ask you to send us an alternative personal statement. But by and large, we can generally cope with what you put there about wanting to study, you know, more vocational medical courses. Okay. Now, going to the actual offer then, I've said we are looking at your predicted grades. The highest offer we would give would be A-star AA. The lowest offer would be ABB, or equivalents. We're looking at for you to do 2 core sciences. So we want you to do biology, chemistry, physics, or maths, so 2 of those. So you can see that you don't actually have to do biology to come and study biology here. You know, if you've done the physical sciences, that's good. We'll give you a good grounding there. If you are doing a science that is not quite one of our core sciences, so geography, psychology, environmental studies, or PE, you can use that as a replacement for one of the core sciences, and we would expect you to get an A grade in that, what we call a soft science. So we do match them to your predicted grades. And one of the reasons why we do that is we want you to reach your potential. So even though, you know, somebody could get in with ABB and you've been predicted 3 A's, we want you to work for that 3 A's. Because if your school think you can get that, we don't want you to slacken off and think you don't have to work quite so hard for that 25-mark question because you don't have to get the top mark in it. We want you to really fulfill your potential, because we know that after university, after your A-levels and after university and you're applying for jobs, for some people it can matter what they get in their A-levels, depending on what career route you're going into. You know, even though we like to think at university we do give added value, but some opportunities do look at your A-levels. So we want you to work for what you think you can get. Now, it does mean that if you've got one of our top offers, and then on results day, I mean, you might not know this, but you get your results on the Thursday. We actually get the results in the universities on the Sunday. So we have a few days to look at all the offers and have a look at them and say, oh, okay, all these people made their offer, you know, they're in. Whatever the offer was, they're in. These people have dropped a grade, but we did ask them to get A-star AA, and they've dropped a grade, or even 2 grades. We've got room, so we'll give them a place too. If you get our bottom offer of ABB and you drop a grade, then you're looking at potentially a foundation year offer, which I'll talk about in a moment. So it does give you more potential to get in if you've got a higher predicted grades. Of course, if you drop a grade, we can't guarantee you entry. That's the big thing. So that very much depends on numbers. And of course, in the last couple of years, it's been quite tricky. We're going to draw a veil over the last couple of years because in admissions, it's been very painful. But prior to the last couple of years, we've always been able to accommodate people who have dropped a grade or 2. And we've no reason to believe it's not going to be different this year. But the difference is we can't actually guarantee it. If we give you a foundation year offer, this is a chance to do maths, biology and chemistry, almost like a crammer year that is taught at a further education college that's just down the road in Rusholme. And these are the teachers there that are skilled at getting people up to university level. So it may be that actually you haven't done chemistry, so it's a chance for you to catch up on the chemistry anyway, or you haven't done maths. And it's a full-on year. It's quite heavily timetabled, and once you pass the foundation year, you can then continue directly onto our first year without having to apply through UCAS again. So if any of you want to have a chat about what the foundation year is and how it's applied, then do come and talk to us, or talk to the students on the stands in the Michael Smith building. There's people there who've come through the foundation year, and now they're in their final year at university. If we like your application and it meets our minimum requirements, when you apply, whenever you apply through the cycle, whether you apply in October or you apply in November or not until January, we will invite you up to our offer holder days at the university. And they will take place in March and April next year. And we'll invite you up, we'll invite your parents up if they want to come too. And we'll give you a tour around so you can see inside the research laboratories, you can see inside the buildings much more, you can talk to an ambassador, and we'll give you some more detail about the courses when you're here. And it's a chance for you then to think, actually, I put down molecular biology, but maybe I want to do biochemistry. You know, so we can talk to you specifically about which degree you want to do. So when it comes to putting you as firm choice or insurance choice, we usually have between 12 and 1,400 people who want to come to us. And then on results day, we will narrow that down to the 700 places, as Shazir mentioned earlier. So I'll just talk a little bit about a typical week here. It's very good to talk to the students about this because we think we know what a typical week is for students academically. Of course, the students may have a very different idea about what the week is. As any other university, your course, each module you do will have lectures associated with it. We have a very big first year, so the lecture theatres will be like this. We will be also offering some of our lecture material as pre-recorded material for you to read before you come into the lecture theatre. Or if you know the lecture theatres are, when they're live, they will be recorded so you can listen to the audio afterwards. And lots of our students take advantage of that recorded capability later on. Around about 10 hours a week will be dedicated to lectures, and there'll probably be a split between pre-recorded and in-person as well. There'll be more in-person ones in first year because we know as students go through, when they get very confident about how they learn, they're actually quite like to read resources and listen to videos, etc. And then come in and have a chat in the lecture theatre. And we do some sort of more active sessions in theatres. There'll be around about 5 hours of practicals a week. There will be a mixture, again, of online resources to look at so you can get the theory behind the experiments, looking at data, looking how to understand the data, and then you'll come into the laboratory and actually hands-on try the skills. So you'll be loading gels and using microscopes and all that kind of thing. So by the end of your first 2 years, if you are then going on to a placement year, you will have the technical and physical skills necessary to go and take your place in a research lab somewhere. Or if you're going on to final year and finishing off with a final year project in a lab, again, you have the technical skills necessary over those 2 years. You'll be placed in a tutor group when you arrive here with about 10 students, including yourself, and your tutor will be from the academic discipline that you've chosen to study. And again, this might be a reason why you go for, say, a degree in pharmacology, because that means your tutor will be a pharmacologist. And so in these tutor groups, when you meet, you'll be reading research papers, writing essays, giving presentations, getting interested in the subject. And say if you're in pharmacology, all the other people will be interested in pharmacology too. Whereas if you go for a more broad discipline, such as biology, the other people in the group could be interested in all different aspects of biology, and your tutor could be from any of the biology disciplines as well, which you may like that. You may like the potluck aspects, or you may think, no, I really want to do microbiology because I'm interested in infectious disease. So go for microbiology if that's the case. As Shazir says, at the end of first year, you can always swap if that was not the right choice for you. You'll be also expected to do some studying on your own. The PASS is mentioned on the slide here. That stands for Peer-Assisted Study Support. So these are groups we put you in, which you don't have to attend if you don't want to. They're run by second year and final year students who've been through the course before you. So it's a real chance to integrate with people from year 2 and final year, which I think is quite useful. Not just academically. In your PASS group, you can take advice about where to get a house in second year, where are the best places to go for a curry, that kind of thing. So it can be social interactions as well as academic. So we reckon around about 20 hours of directed teaching where we're expecting you to do a certain thing, potentially at a certain time, and then we expect you to put about 20 hours in of self-study too. Because most of the learning at university comes from you independently working. We can guide you as lecturers and say, read this is interesting, oh, look at this. But it really comes from you getting to grips with the subject and being guided by what interests you. Now, let's finish off on careers. We can't do a science talk without some kind of graph or pie chart. So here is a nice pie chart talking about careers. So you can see that in blue, 36%, this may surprise some people, that 36% of our graduates have enjoyed studying biology, enjoyed studying the biosciences, but on graduation, they decide to go into a career that is non-bioscience related. These are the traditional graduate jobs. So, you know, fast track civil service, going into accountancy maybe, going into being a management consultant, you know, working for the big national companies that want graduates. And they want graduates who are, you know, can write a report, they're literate, they can understand complex material, they can analyse data and look at problems. But it doesn't matter what background it's in. It doesn't matter that it was in biochemistry or whether it was in history or whether it was in English literature. They want people to have good transferable skills. And so a third of the year group will go off very happily into those kind of careers. You can see in purple, 35% will go on to postgraduate science. So it matters now that you've done a biology. It doesn't really matter which flavour of biology you've done, because you can become quite specialised then at master's level and PhD level, because you've got that broad baseline, you've got the skills, and you can sort of switch in between biology disciplines at master's level and PhD level. So about 35% will go into further research. Quite a lot of people will go straight into working in science, so in laboratory and commercial companies. So 14% will still keep their science, they've got their skills, and they still want to work in science and carry it on. Quite a few people will seek training in something else. So maybe they'll go on and do a law conversion course. So they'll do postgraduate study, but it's not in the biosciences. And again, anybody could have gone into that, no matter what degree you do. You can see the two slices of pie at the top. 6% go off to do medicine. Now, whether that's postgraduate medicine on a 4-year course, or people will start doing a 5-year course and do the whole undergraduate medical degree. And some people do that. So for parents in the room, you may be doing 3 years of biosciences for your kids. There may be a little bit tagged on at the end as well, if that's the way they want to go. And then a lot of people, 5% will go on to do teaching. So whether that's teaching as a PGCE, so training, or whether it's teach first and going straight into primary schools and secondary schools and being trained on the job. So teaching is a very excellent career if you're a bioscientist. So all these biosciences, so whether you're in research directly, clinical or technical, working in a hospital, for instance, or a hospital laboratory, you know, the kind of people who's running all those blood tests that people go for, that kind of science, it's very good to have a science discipline there. A lot of people want to do research, but in the field, so looking at conservation, and we'll take the biology skills they've got and the math skills and the stat skills and do that kind of job. More and more, our graduates are going into science communication jobs. So working for medical research companies that want people to be able to write scientifically or take scientific information and write it for the layperson. So they need somebody who understands the science so then they can translate it for other people. Similarly, in sales jobs, the equipment you use in science now is incredibly complex. So you need somebody who understands about DNA sequencing or about, cell sorting, fax software. So who understands what the science is that can then use that to help people buy the right instruments for their research. So there are lots of ways you can use science, whether you're going directly into research or into other job opportunities as well. And to help you on the way, we have a very good career service here. Our career service is very well regarded. It's award-winning. People like the University of Manchester graduates. We know they've got good skills, transferable skills that are going to be useful in the workplace. The High Flyers survey from graduate employers say, where do you want to get your students from? And Manchester will come number one when we're looking at bioscientists. They like to come to us because we know we give a good education here. And our career service is very, very useful. They run CV surgeries, mock interviews. They can get the employers to come in because we've got such a big alumni association, so we can get people coming back to give talks on jobs that they've got since graduating here. So you can look at our website now for the career service and you can see all the events that are on to help people get where they want to be. We actually think you shouldn't really worry about this too much now. The world is changing. Who knows what job you're going to be going into? You need to think now about where do you want to live and what do you want to study? What interests you? What's going to get you out of bed on a Monday morning at 9 o'clock when it's raining? Because it will be raining. What do you want to study? And then what you're interested in, it's not extra reading. It's not additional. It's you're reading it because you're interested in it. And that's what really floats your boat. And that's what you've got to think about when you're applying for university. What do you want to get up for? And where do you want to be? So we're going to finish the talk now to say, go outside and look at the campus, go on a campus tour, come over to the Michael Smith building and ask us any questions individually, especially if you're not sure about, what qualifications you have, etc. And do spend the time looking at our Bioscience web pages where you can see all the modules you could potentially choose from, and our research as well, because that's what we're very, very proud of here in Manchester. So I think we'll stop there, shall we? Thank you, Shazia. And please go on your way. Thank you. Now, thank you. As you file out, you can actually file out through both doors out there. Okay, thank you.